What's going on, people? Guns blazing back at it again with yet another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore, where we give you a detailed look at some card backstories. Now today we're going to take a look at the story behind Buster Blader, a card that's familiar to most of us. Now, unlike the previous stories that we've covered, Buster Blader and its related cards do not provide us the luxury of normal type monster descriptions. But thankfully this is not too complicated of a story to piece together. So, Buster Blader is a warrior who specializes in slaying dragons, as evidenced by his attack gain for each dragon type on the opponent's field or in their grave. He is the Dragon Destroyer, and although not often mentioned, he's an excellent craftsman / blacksmith, adorning his armor and weapons with the scales and teeth of the dragons that he bested in battle. But what is his motive for killing dragons? Did they take his family from him? Was he hired to kill them? Many dragon species, not all, but many, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Realm are obviously aggressive and dangerous to the human race. So there is a small possibility that Buster Blader holds himself accountable for the population control of dragons. This theory doesn't have much proof though, but I think the simplest and most likely reason is this. Buster Blader just wants to become the strongest warrior, period. He started by killing dragons to prove himself, as they do have a reputation of being unbeatable by most humans. But once he got the hang of it, he decided to broaden his scope, willing to battle anyone, dragon or not, and eventually becomes known as the Destruction Swordmaster. Now, his new effect doesn't mention anything dragon specific, like before, but that doesn't mean he lost his skill at fighting dragons. It just means that he's a way more well-rounded fighter now. Let's revisit the fact that Buster Blader is exceptional at creating his own weapons and armor. Notice how he can equip monsters he destroyed in battle. This is because, just like how he incorporates dragon body parts into his equipment, he studies whoever he slays now, dragon or not, and uses their remains to create new weaponry that is effective against that race. Notice how the equipped monster can be sent to the grave to destroy all monsters the opponent controls of the same type. Well, now you know what kind of a man Buster Blader is. It's now time to get into the real story, starting with the prologue. On one of his insane missions to slay yet another dragon, he actually meets someone special. What's surprising is that someone special is a dragon. And you already know how much of his life he spent battling dragons. And he found this infant dragon while fighting what seems to be its parent. To Buster Blader though, this is not immediately obvious. It's likely that Buster Blader thought they were completely unrelated and that the young dragon was just its prey, so that's why he wanted to save it. The two dragons looked completely different in appearance, not only in size but more importantly, one emanated an aura of pure evil while the other one seemed truly innocent. And so Buster Blader damaged the evil dragon just enough so that he could get away, before fleeing for safety with the dragon infant in his arms. It was kind of strange for Buster Blader at first because never in his wildest dreams would he think he'd be taking sympathy to a creature that he would usually battle or slay. But this, my friends, is how their story unfolds. Charmed by its harmless appearance, Buster Blader did not see the whelp as an enemy, but for possibly the first time in his life, he treated another creature as a companion, and even as his own family, looking after it and caring for it. But Buster Blader's heart wasn't all pure. He also wanted to train the dragon to fight alongside him one day. Now, we might not know if this was his plan all along, but for a fact he did eventually realize this. If he could control the strength of a dragon, he would become even more unstoppable. So instead of becoming a 24/7 stay-at-home mom, Buster Blader decides to take Buster Whelp along with him on his various battles. He continued to fight different enemies and craft weapons from their drops. And eventually he even got the whelp to fight alongside him, teaching it how to wield those very same weapons, the ones that he crafted from the remains of his opponents. But here's where Buster Blader notices something strange. One day Buster Blader slayed yet another dragon, and as usual he took the materials back home so that he could craft a new sword for the little whelp. But as he presented the newly crafted sword to Buster Whelp, he noticed that a dark aura began to engulf the young dragon. The aura was there for a brief moment, but it disappeared. He thought nothing of it at first, and life would go on, with his dragon companion still fighting by his side. With each battle and with each weapon, the young dragon matured and it became more powerful. But as it grew, More darkness surrounded it, even to the point of affecting the tone of its fur and scales, which visibly got darker day by day. After a long period of maturation, it eventually becomes Buster Dragon, multiplying in size and taking on a dark gray color. And it was then that Buster Blader knew for sure that it was indeed the same kind as that evil dragon he had encountered before. But it was still loyal to him, even supplying Buster Blader with the weapons they forged together, and fighting alongside him in battle. Buster Blader continued to naively think nothing of it, thinking that he successfully domesticated and tamed his very own dragon, despite its changed appearance and increased viciousness. But eventually he had to come face to face with reality, and by then it was too late to turn back. Eventually the dragon became fully corrupted and could no longer be controlled by Buster Blader. It turned against him, going off into an unquellable frenzy. As he drew his sword, he wondered why it gave in to darkness and eventually turned against him. He tried to talk some sense into it, but the dragon left him with no choice. It wasn't listening to speech or gestures, so he had to fight it. Perhaps by defeating it, Buster Blader thought, he could try once again to get through to his friend, who he knew deep down was still in there somewhere. So fiercely they fought, until one final clash. Buster Blader was able to knock Buster Dragon out, and fortunately, he could still hear its heartbeat and breath. He sank his blade into the earth, crouching down to what was once Buster Whelp, the young dragon he cared for. As he talked to Buster Dragon, the darkness faded away from within it, but he could feel its pulse slow down, and he knew that Buster Dragon didn't have much longer. What exactly corrupted this young whelp? We may never truly know. Is it just the natural progression of things? Do they unavoidably become evil as they grow up? It can't be, as we do see the adult light version before our very eyes. So it does seem like it could go either way depending on what influences it. But the strongest clue is the attribute change on the first sword card we saw. Even though it still looks harmless here, the attribute is now dark instead of light when it was just Buster Whelp. Maybe it's because it was forced to fight dragons alongside Buster Blader, seeing with its own eyes its very species getting killed. Having to witness that, and even be a part of it, forced by Buster Blader to fight alongside him with weapons designed from dragon remains to kill even more dragons. It's as if fate was punishing Buster Blader for his selfish quest for power. He was so desperate for strength that he forgot what kind of influence he had on that young creature. This innocent one was corrupted by the bloodshed of your hands, Buster Blader. And so, even if this creature is the only one that you love, its blood shall be shed by your hands as well. Time was ticking. Buster Dragon was fading away. But Buster Blader wanted to remember all the times they shared, although not as a dead adornment on his equipment like everyone else he defeated, and hung on his armor like some kind of trophy. There was only one way that Buster Dragon could partially live on, and that's if, of course, if Buster Blader fused with it. And so it was. Buster Blader infused the dragon's soul in himself. Instead of scavenging his companion's carcass afterwards like a savage, he opted for the choice that would leave Buster Dragon with the most dignity, to absorb its entire essence, so that their memories together would never die. In this way, Buster Dragon's soul and power could flow through Buster Blader. And in a way, they could always be fighting alongside each other, although not like they used to. The bittersweet ending. And that's it, my friends. Thanks for watching. Did you enjoy the story of Buster Blader and Buster Whelp? So far out of the ones we've covered, I think it's the one that struck me the most, even if other stories had more cards within them. There's definitely going to be more of this type of content coming soon, so feel free to sub and bell it up if you don't want to miss it. I also did mention that I might switch it up with a couple of different type of content videos coming this month, so just a heads up. Anyways, until next time, have yourselves a good one. And this is Guns Blazing, signing out.
Downtown we let it go, sunset high and our bodies low. Blood rush in a hazy glow. My hands, your bones. Loose up, we break the scene. One step deep as you fall to me. Hot clap, we skip a beat. Count 1, 2, 3. And don't you stop there. find your place and lose it. You can do it, won't you dance with me? Move your feet and feel it in the space between. You gotta give yourself a moment, let your body be.